Yo, 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 yo! Hello, everybody. This is Mr. G, and this is another review video on multiplying and dividing rational numbers. So we're going to multiply and divide fractions and decimals, because this is something that we're going to need to be doing a lot this year. And so it's super important that we know how to divide decimals, divide fractions, and multiply decimals. So first key term here is rational number. A rational number is any number that can be written as a ratio in the form of a over b, where a and b is not 0. So it's basically a number that can be written as a fraction. So like an example, 6 can be written as a fraction. It can be written as 12 over 2, because 12 divided by 2 equals 6. So this is just a different way of writing 6. So 6 is a rational number. 0.5 is also a rational number, because that's the same thing as 1/2. So a rational number is any number that can be written as a fraction. Basically every number you guys know, almost just about every number that you guys know at this point, is a rational number. Now, first what we're going to do is we are going to just multiply decimals, because I think that's probably the easiest. So with multiplying decimals, they're kind of nice because all you do is you multiply just like there's no decimal. You multiply as if nothing is there. You multiply like normal. And then, once you're done multiplying, you worry about the decimal later. So first, I have a negative times a negative, so I know my answer has to be positive, because whenever we multiply two numbers that are the same sign, or two negatives, it's always a positive answer. Now I actually have to do 2 times 5.2, so I'm going to write 5.2 on the top because it has more digits. Just for multiplication purposes, it's easier. And I'm going to multiply that off to the side. Notice how I didn't write down my negatives, because I don't need to worry about those because they don't really matter at this point, because I know my answer is positive. And now I'm going to multiply. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. So I get 104. This is where I worry about my decimal. So this was 5.2, so that means there's one number after the decimal here, nothing here. So because I would take the total of these two values, and that's how many times I move my decimal. There's nothing to worry about right here. So one number after my decimal, move it over once, I get 10.4. So the answer is positive 10.4. Another good way to know where your decimal goes is you can do a quick little estimation. So like I know that this is very close to 2 times 5. Because 5.2 is really close to 5. It's not quite 5, but this is the closest whole number. Well, 2 times 5 is 10. So that means my answer has to be somewhat close to 10. Well, if I multiplied and I got 104, right away I should say, well, 104 is nowhere near 10, so this can't be right. If I put my decimal here, 1.04 is also not really that close to 10, so that's also not right. Which is why it's another way to check to make sure that 10.4, that my decimal is in the right spot. 10.4 is really close to 10, so it makes sense. We're good to go. All right, so for the second one here, 0.53 times 0.04. 0.04. I'm going to multiply those. I'm just going to multiply as if there's no decimal. So 4 times 3 is 12. Bring over my 1. 4 times 5 is 20. Plus 1 is 21. I don't need to do the zeros because it doesn't really matter. And I'm actually done multiplying. So I got 212. So again, 212, we know that's not it because now I got to think about the decimal. So when I think about the decimal here, though, if we look in the first number in the problem, I have 1, 2 numbers after the decimal. In the second number, I also have 1, 2 numbers after the decimal. That is a total of 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers after the decimal. I'm adding the total of both lines. So that means I have to move my decimal 4 times to the left, not twice. This is incorrect. This is for adding and subtracting. We just bring it down. That's not how it works with multiplying. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I ran out of spaces, so I'm going to move it a 4th time and add a 0. So 0.0212. You can throw the 0 in front. There's my decimal. There's my final answer. Try this last one and see how you do. Pause it if you haven't paused it yet, and try it. Okay, so negative times a negative is always positive again, so my answer is positive, so I don't even have to worry about those negative signs. 3.04, 1.7. I don't have to line up my decimals. Does not matter. because I just don't even worry about it. 7 times 4 is 28. Bring on my 2. 7 times 0 is 0 plus 2 is 2. 7 times 3 is 21. Now I got to move 1 over, so I'm working on my second row, or my tens value. 1 times 4, well, this is just going to be, since I'm multiplying by 1, I'm just going to recopy the whole number. And there we go. Yes, I am going through the actual multiplication quick because that's not really the focus right now. Okay, at this point, I would hope that we know how to do 3.04 times 1. If not, it's okay. We might need some practice, but you need to come see me so we can get that practice in. So this is where the decimal comes into play. The answer is not 5,168. 3.04 is really close to 3. 1.7 is really close to 2. I'm rounding up to the nearest whole number. 3 times 2 is 6. My answer's got to be somewhat close to 6. So just knowing that, if I put my decimal here, 516 is not close to 6. 51 is not close to 6. 5.1 is really close to 6. So there's where my decimal goes. Another way to know, 1, 2, 3 numbers after the decimal. 1, 2, 3 times I move it over. All right. Sweet. Now, fractions. Everybody's favorite are fractions. Okay, so fractions, whenever we multiply fractions, you multiply the top and you multiply the bottom. You can then simplify in the end. Or you can simplify first and then multiply. But you're really just multiplying straight across. So one way to do it, I could do 3 times 4, 4 times 5. 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 5 is 20. I just multiplied the two fractions. The problem that gives people a hard time is simplifying from here. I do need to simplify. I need to find a common factor that they have. I can divide both of these by 4, because 12 divided by 4 is 3. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So really, it's 3/5. So my final answer is 3/5. Now, another way I could have simplified, a way that I actually think is easier, but a lot of people don't like doing it this way, is I just look at the numerator and the denominator on different fractions. So I look at diagonally. Can I simplify 4 and 4? If 4 over 4 was the fraction, could I simplify that? Well, that becomes 1 over 1 because we divide them both by 4, so that's what I'm doing. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 5 is 5. Makes the multiplication really easy, makes the simplifying really easy. I'm just dividing these both by 4. 3 and 5 I can't simplify, that's why I didn't even try. If I have a mixed number like this, I need to change that mixed number into an improper fraction before I do anything. So the way we do that is we multiply the first number, the whole number, by the denominator. So 2 times 3 is 6. And then I add that second value. That's supposed to be me making an arrow with the plus symbol. It's pretty ugly though. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 2 is 8 over 3. So really I'm just doing 8 over 1 times 8 over 3. This is 8 over 1 because it's a whole number. We always can put a 1 on the bottom of it. So I'm doing 8 over 1 times 8 over 3. 8 over 3 is the same thing as 2 and 2/3. And I multiply. 8 times 8, 64. 1 times 3 is 3. So my final answer is just 64 over 3. You can actually leave it as improper. I'm okay with that. Look to see if it's positive or negative. I have a positive times a negative. Positive times a negative are different signs, so it's always going to be a negative answer. So it's negative 64 over 3. And I'm done. If you wanted to write it as a mixed number, we could divide. And when we do that, we would get 21, negative 21, and 1/3. Okay, try this one out on your own. First, change it to improper, and then try to multiply. See how you do. So pause it, try it, go. Okay, 3 times 5 is 15. So I got to change this to improper. So I'm going to multiply the whole number by the denominator. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 8 is 18. That's negative 18/5. The denominator always stays the same. And this is going to be negative 13/12. So I have negative 18/5 times negative 13/12. Now, to make our lives easier, 18 times 13, yeah, we can work it out. That would take us a little bit of time. We can do it. However, let's cross simplify first because then it makes our multiplication a lot easier. If I look at 18 and 12, okay, can I simplify 18 and 12? Do these have a common factor? And they do. They have a common factor of 6. I can divide 18 by 6. I can divide 12 by 6. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 3 times 13, 39. 5 times 2 is 10. Negative times a negative is positive. I can just stop there. 39 over 10. And I can leave it as improper. If I wanted to change it to a mixed number, it'd be 3 and 9/10. Okay? So, dividing now. Dividing decimals, what we do is first number always goes inside the house, second number always goes outside the house. The biggest thing with dividing decimals, it's really not much different than dividing regular numbers. The only difference is we just move the decimal straight up. However, if we have a decimal on the outside, I can't do that. I don't know my 0.5 multiplication facts. I know my multiplication facts of just 5, but not 0.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it over once. But if what I do on the outside, I just got to do it on the inside. And then once I move it, I just bring it straight up. Now I can actually do my division, do the work, solve the problem, just as if the decimals aren't there, because I'm done with the decimal. I've done the work. I can just do 5 goes into 2. How many times? 0. 5 goes into 24. How many times? 4 times. Take away the 20. I'm left with 4. Bring down my 3, because that's where I'm at work-wise, vertically. 5 goes into 43 8 times. 5 times 8 is 40. I'm going to subtract 40. I'm left with 3. Bringing down my 5. 5 goes into 35. 7 times. So my final answer is 48.7. Positive. No negatives here, so I don't have to worry about that. So it's just 48 and 7/10. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to actually try this one first, and then we'll talk a little bit about this one, then try this one. But try this one on your own. See how you do. I'm going to pause it. And then I'm actually, when I unpause it, I'm just going to have the work for you so you can just check your work afterwards. You don't have to watch me do all the division. So go ahead and pause it right now. Okay, there's your answer. It should have been negative 54. The reason why it's negative, positive divided by negative, different signs. So my answer is always negative no matter what the values are. That's the rules for our dividing. And there's the work for the division. I moved my decimal over twice, so this just became 4. So I got rid of it. Moved it over twice. That became 216. So really it was just 216 divided by 4. And 4 goes into 216 54 times. And there's the work to show it. Now finally on this one right here, I want you to do substitution first. So I would actually plug in for x. I would plug in this value in for x here. So we're just taking this number, because if we're saying x is 0.03, so I'm going to replace that x with 0.03. So this is really 10.8 over 0.03. And whenever we write a fraction like this, this fraction means division. So this is really 10.8 divided by 0.03. And then I can just do my division from here by moving my decimal over twice. I can add a zero since I ran out of spaces to move it, and that's where my decimal goes. So I'm really going 3 goes into 1,080. 3 goes into 1, 0 times. 3 goes into 10, 3 times. Left with 1. Bring down my 8. 3 goes into 18, 6 times. I'm out of values. I have nothing. I have 0 and 0. That's when I have a 0 remaining, I have to bring it up. So the answer is 360. All right, we're almost done. Dividing fractions. If we can multiply fractions, you can divide fractions. The biggest thing with dividing fractions is we have to follow the rule of keep, change, flip. Keep the first fraction, change the second, change the sign to multiplication, flip the second fraction. Sorry, I said that kind of funky. Keep the first fraction, change this to multiplication, flip the second fraction. And then you just multiply. So I would rewrite this as 1/5 times 10/3. Now we just do everything we learned how to do with multiplication. So I can cross simplify this. 5 and 10. I can divide both of these by 5 to make that 1 and to make that 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. I'm done. 2/3. Nothing else to it. Try the second one on your own, please. Pause it, try it, go. Okay, so I keep the first fraction, so this is still negative 2/3. Change this to multiplication. 4/15, I flip it, so it's 15/4. Okay, I want to show you how to cross simplify again. If I were to cross simplify these, I would simplify them where 3 and 15 do have common factor. I can divide by 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 2 and 4 I can divide by 2 to make that 1. Make that 2. Makes the multiplication really easy, guys. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. Negative times a positive is negative. So my answer is negative 5/2. Okay, for mixed numbers, same thing as multiplication. We got to change them to improper fractions, and then we can do the multiplication. Pause it, try it, and then when you unpause it, I should have the work pop up for you without me having to walk you through all of it. So go ahead and pause it and give it a shot. Okay, so the answer is 4 for this last one. And I'm sorry, this should have been a division symbol since obviously we're dividing, so somehow I got cut off on this, so I rewrote it in there. I hope you guys had it right on your note taker. So hopefully you divide them. So first I changed them to improper. This became 13/2, 13/8. Then I flipped it to make it 8/13. Then I cross simplified it because 2 and 8 make 1 and 4. I can divide them both by 2. And then 13s cancel each other out and become 1. So there's no multiplication. The answer is just 4 because that's the last number remaining. And I'm done. I know that was a lot. It's all review. So things to remember, I would just put keep, change, flip for dividing fractions. Okay. Get the independent practice done. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Gradius out.